Good afternoon, daily members. Let us close the market. Please, we'll have the closing prayers.
The bears seem to be retaining the grip on the equities market. That's the closing bell for the ending trading today on the floor of the Nigerian stock market. Hello everyone, welcome once again this Thursday. This is Business Nigeria. Well, Nigeria's Niger Delta region is known for its rich oil deposits, which contributes about 8.5% to the country's GDP. But reports have it that some entrepreneurs are feeding fat on the conflict in that region, and this in turn affects investment there. We'll talk about how to address these issues. Plus, search engine giant Google fined $1.7 billion over abuse of restricting third-party rivals from displaying search ads. We have all this for you on Business Nigeria. Well, first off in the news, International Air Transport Association IATA has released global passenger traffic results for January 2019. IATA report shows that passengers traffic rose 6.5% compared to January last year. It was a positive one for African carriers as traffic rose 5.1% from 3.8% in December, and that's the fastest growth record in global aviation industry in 6 months. IATA CEO Alexander De Juneic says there are concerns about South Africa and Nigeria, the biggest economies at that, as the region's capacity rose 2.9% and load factor jumped 1.5 percentage points to 70.9%. Well, let's get focused today. Conflicts in the Niger Delta region can be avoided if investors carry out adequate feasibility studies before investing in that region, as there have been misdirected focus on how investment affect and impact the community. Well, this thought has led to death of investment in that section of the country. But experts have come up with a macro conflict risk impact assessment micro tool to support understanding host community conflict dynamics. Well, let's discuss how conflict and corruption has hampered investment in oil-rich region Niger Delta. Energy consultant Charles Majami joins me from our Abuja studio. Thank you, Charles. Yes, let's talk about this tool, Micra. How did it come about?
Thank you. MACRIA is an acronym for Macro Conflict Resolution Impact Assessment, and it came out of necessity. You know, the majority of Nigeria's energy resources are located within the Niger Delta, where we have seen a large amount of conflicts that have arisen as a result of investments being contemplated in the upstream and in the midstream sectors of our oil and gas value chain. These are the segments required to produce energy and also to process the energy such that the value chain that is created from that impacts positively on GDP growth, creates jobs, etc. What we've seen in recent times is that conflict itself has significantly prevented the establishment of new assets and the creation of midstream assets, which, like I said, would contribute positively to economic growth in this country. As a result of that, we decided to create this tool so that investors can anticipate the kind of conflict their investments might cause to existing communities where there are complex community related issues related to potential grievances, to land resolution issues, to ethnic diversities within communities. So really, it's a tool that's used to engage communities in a bankable way that allows the investor to predict the possibility of his investment exacerbating in existing conflict or creating new conflicts.
Yes, that word bankable, if we're going to use the word in this term now, conflict entrepreneurs, they've been able to feed fat on that environment. Now, how do we make the Niger Delta really bankable in exact terms using that micro tool?
Well, look, when you use the word conflict entrepreneur, I mean, I happen to think it's a very interesting way to describe a phenomenon that's recurring consistently in the Niger Delta. Conflict entrepreneurs are individuals that have discovered that they can actually make money through eliciting illegal rents from ensuring that projects don't happen. Now, this is a very scary dynamic that's recurring in Nigeria today, where you have these conflict entrepreneurs effectively extorting money from government and from private industry wanting to develop assets. And what they do is they typically wait for a company to be substantially invested along the way towards delivering their project before they instrumentalize violence within communities, drawing on things such as grievances connected to land, the ethnic differences that might exist within communities in the Niger Delta, whereas you know there are many, many different ethnic communities clustered together. So the conflict entrepreneur preys on the initiatives of investing companies wanting to invest in these areas. And their mandate, the conflict entrepreneur, is to ensure that those projects don't happen. What the tool does is it predicts the evolution of these types of characters by analyzing the social fabric of every community. Who are the leaders in the community? Who are the other stakeholders in the community? Are there women groups, cult groups, militant groups? What's their relationship to one another? And how do we mitigate from these stakeholders in the community being instrumentalized to suit the agenda of a selfish conflict entrepreneur? It's a way, and again I should add, this is before a single investment is made into the project. This way, you're able to better galvanize the support of the community behind the project, okay, and you effectively disarm the potential for these conflict entrepreneurs to extort money from the project by dragging the investment into a place where it's already substantial, and to retract the investment might be too onerous or too or not
Charles,
feasible.
let me come in here. This tool now, how different, very briefly at that, how different is it from all other tools that have been used as these issues evolve in the Niger Delta?
Well, I mean, to my knowledge, there haven't been too many of these. This type of approach is fairly novel for the fact that investors coming into the Niger Delta typically, on large-scale projects, typically lean on the government to take up the host community engagement component of the project. What we are proposing under the Macria tool is that the investor, because it's his project or her project, must take the mantle of that burden upon themselves using a process that we've already laid out. Now, they probably would have to engage the services of a third-party conflict expert to do so. But if you look at the cost of doing this at the front end versus the cost of being led into a situation where they're forced to bring out huge amounts of funds, being lulled under having been lulled into a situation of false security, and then discover that there are latent problems in the community that are instrumentalized by these conflict entrepreneurs, it's actually a much better cost-benefit proposition for the investor to do it this way.
All right, energy consultant Charles Majomi, we hope that this Michael tool would actually handle the issue of conflict entrepreneur in the Niger Delta. Thank you for talking to us. After the break, we will look at the fine imposed on Google by European Union over trade infractions. Stay with Business Nigeria.
Rivals. That's just what it means. The engineers may be cursing under their breath as they're doing it, but they have to do it to comply with the law. Okay, so what EU is actually beaming its searchlight on Google. How do you think it begins to act henceforth? Well, this was between 2006 and 2016, but what would you say going forward? Okay, so closely related to that, there's talks of a looming 3% tax that the EU is planning to levy on tech giants generally. The 4 GAFA companies: Google, Apple, Facebook, and Amazon. Okay. The other thing to look at is that these are largely American companies. Okay. So there's the tough stance that the EU is taking to protect not necessarily American citizens, but their own citizens from the quote-unquote runaway cowboy actions of an international company on their own citizens and residents. It's in the same spirit as the GDPR. It goes in that same line of making sure that just because you're a big international company doesn't mean you can treat our people anyhow. You know, so that kind of stuff. All right, we'd have to leave it at that. Software consultant, Idowakinde, thank you. Thank you very much.
And Walt Disney has acquired 21st Century Fox in a $71 billion deal, giving its upcoming streaming service a range of popular content as it takes on Netflix. Esther Mokwariola tells us more.
1 year after Disney announced the $71.3 billion merger, it's finally official. The deal, which closed Wednesday at 12:02 a.m. Eastern Time, reshapes the media landscape and makes Disney an even greater entertainment colossus. The acquisition also puts Disney in a stronger position to take on Netflix and other streaming companies when it launches its own service, Disney Plus, later this year. The deal will expand Disney's portfolio of some of the world's most popular characters, uniting Mickey Mouse, Luke Skywalker, and Marvel superheroes with Fox's X-Men, Avatar, and The Simpsons franchises. The streaming service, Disney Plus, aims to make up for the continuing loss of subscribers from ESPN and other cable networks. The completion of the Fox deal comes nearly a year after Disney won a bidding war against cable company Comcast Corporation for the assets. Disney also said Kevin Mayer and James Kappenstein have stepped down from its board. Separately, Fox Corporated debuted on the NASDAQ on Tuesday and named former United States House Speaker Paul Ryan, Formula One Group Chief Executive Officer Chase Carey, and 2 others to its board. The newly spun-off media company, which will house assets including Fox News Channel and Fox Broadcast Network, is expected to bring in around $10 billion in annual revenue. Esther Mopariola, TVC News.
Well, just as deals are being signed over there, back here in Nigeria, the country is dealing with challenges affecting the channels of its revenue. Well, land border smuggling is a menace that challenges efforts of promoting legal trade in the country. As the Nigeria Customs Service continues to combat that trend, it seems like an endless circus that is constantly sabotaging the economy.
The Semi-Customs Command has been having a long-drawn battle with smugglers along the Semi-Krake border corridor, but the menace is not abating. The command showcases seizures of thousands of bags of 50 kg foreign parboiled rice and vehicles of different brands that are recurring, despite government's policy banning the importation of these items through the land borders.
Some people, they decide to live by illegal means. That is they feel that is their way of life. I will continue to make arrests. it is records that will indicate. So these are some of these issues that we will continue to fight to make sure that arrests are made. Any illegality that will destroy this economy, we are both ready to protect the economy.
Customs says smugglers are deploying new ways in their attempts to bring in contraband. This car was smuggled in bearing a diplomatic plate number.
The driver of the vehicle came to the border, and on asking him the document, because there are procedures, you cannot just go and drive through the joint border post or any border and just go. When you ask about the document of the vehicle, because the vehicle is bearing diplomatic number, then bring the documents that will allow you, will give you access, will give you passage. That you just had telephone number of people calling these names, calling that name, because these are not part of our clearance procedure. So it is on that basis that we brought you into the station, he made a statement, and on further investigation, we found that there is also a plate number, a Nigerian plate number, alongside with the diplomatic number.
The more than 4,700 bags of rice are equivalent of 8 trailers. Ifunanya Eze, TVC News, Semeboda, Lagos.
Well, the negative sentiment continued at the stock market yesterday as the bears retained grip on the equities market. Effiong Ekop joins me now from the stock market. Is it the same trend we're seeing today at the close of trading?
Yemisi, indeed, it is the same trend. Nothing has changed. We are closing downward 0.05%. But you will say that the margin is not as wide as we've had in the last 2 days. But negative trend, that's just what we are coping with. Because many investors, as we have been saying, they prefer to stay on market sidelines rather than take positive actions on the trading floor. Negative sentiments, political problems, great influences, these are all of the things that they have talked about. I have here David Adonri from High Cap Securities. Welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
The fourth trading day this week, and we are having it in the negative. Tell me the forces that played on your trading floor this afternoon.
Well, the investors' confidence still remains low in the market, and so that is why we see a market that has been declining in the recent past. But from what I can observe now, apparently it's like the market is coming to a resistance level.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that?
Yeah, because if you look at the volume of trade done today and the value is almost getting to that of a normal market. For instance, the volume was about 250 million units traded, valued at about 2.5 billion naira. And that is usually the average under normal market situation.
Okay, let me ask you one question. We know that the shares of Diamond Bank have been suspended. What's influence and what's the effect of that on shareholders?
Yeah, that had a remarkable impact on the demand and price of Access Bank today. The price of Access Bank still appreciated today as a result of the fact that Access Bank has completely taken over Diamond Bank. Diamond Bank technically has gone out of existence, have been swallowed.
Oh, okay.
So
we
it has,
don't have time again.
Okay.
Many thanks for coming.
It's a pleasure.
David Adonri, High Cap Securities. This has been my analysis this afternoon. Back to you, Yemisi.
Well, Ekop, it will be a surprising move if we see the Nigerian stock market reverse its losses on Friday. But we're hopeful that it could reverse those losses. Thank you, Effiong. And that's Business Nigeria for today. Thank you for watching. I'll see you tomorrow.